Hello and welcome to our live coverage of the Women's Gent Wevelgem, part of the Women's World Tour. Over 2 hours into the race now, and as you can see, head less than 65 kilometres away from the finish. Expecting the finish at around 2 Central European time. This is the 5th race of the Women's World Tour this year, and as ever, bringing out the real characters that surround the sport here in Belgium. The weather's good, the band's playing, and the crowd growing all the time here in the main street in Wevelgem. Gent Wevelgem celebrating its 80th anniversary in terms of the men's race. This, though, is the 7th running of the women's race. First one in 2012 by Lizzie Armitstead, as was Lizzie Dijknen these days, and Lotta Lepisto from Finland winning the most recent edition in a sprint last year. And I think perhaps the smart money would be on a sprint finish once again. Delighted to say that Rochelle Gilmore is alongside me here in the commentary position, and they're not hanging around today out there.
They're certainly moving very fast, and I think this year is best conditions weather-wise I've ever seen for a Gent Wevelgem. So I think it's very likely to come down to a sprint in that case. I've been out on the course yesterday. I've been around up the bergs and across the Plug streets, the white dirt roads there, and the conditions are somewhat favourable for the sprinters today.
So here we see the current World Tour ranking. Kasia Niewiadoma is the leader overall. She's not here racing today. Chloe Hosking there in second place. Chantal Black third at the moment. Marianne Vos, good to see her up towards the top of the rankings. Jolien D'Hoore there fourth. Currently overall, she would be one of the big favourites today.
Absolutely. She would love to win Gent Wevelgem. She was so close in a photo finish last year with Lotte Lepisto, so Jolien D'Hoore will really want to do well here today. She'll want to win. Obviously, she'll be disappointed if she doesn't, but the whole peloton knows that she really wants to win this, being so close last year. Really good, strong field. No Anna van der Breggen today, and I think Amanda Spratt also a late withdrawal. Yes, Amanda Spratt, unfortunately for Jolien D'Hoore, one of the strongest teammates, is out with illness, trying to recover for Flanders, where she wants to ride in a domestique role. Amanda Spratt, she's such a valuable domestique to any team, and Jolien D'Hoore will, obviously it will affect her mentally before the start of the race, not having that additional teammate.
The races for all categories today on the streets of Wevelgem. We've had 2 or 3 winners already. Had to wait to cross the road for the Comes to go past a little bit earlier on this morning.
Well, certainly is a lot happening here this week with Gent Wevelgem today, and obviously Flanders next weekend, Tour of Flanders, but all of the additional events that have now been put on. Obviously the Sportive, which was run yesterday over the similar roads as the women race today, and all of the junior events and the different type of events people can participate in here this week. It's a fantastic atmosphere, and it's really bringing in a lot of tourists to come in for the week.
There we see the Sunweb team, Corinne Rivera, part of that team, one of the riders to keep an eye on in the latter stages, no doubt, today.
Well, Corinne Rivera there, the shorter one of the lot there in the Sunweb team. They've also got a former winner here in Floortje Mackay, so she'll be one to watch today as well. And Lotto Soudal now on the start podium, keeping warm before they started.
Well, there's Kirsten Wilden. What a season she's had already on the track. 3 world track titles in Apeldoorn recently. Extraordinary performance.
It was, and I think it may not have even sunken in. That's Kirsten Wild there in the middle, the tall one from Wiggle High Five. She won 3 world championships in 1 week, and at the Track World Championships a couple of weeks ago, so she'll either be on form or have a little bit of a relaxing time after those championships. We just saw Shannon Melseed from Australia preparing for the Commonwealth Games.
The current national champion and former Oceania champion as well. Some handy little reminders there of the climbs to come along the route for the riders.
Well, very important for the riders to have those written down, just in case they lose radio communication, which can happen, especially in a race where it really splits up and the cars are distanced from the peloton, and the distance between the race radio in the car and the riders, as it gets greater, sometimes the radio communication is not so great. There's the Spanish champion Guterres on the start line. Marianne Vos, a huge name in women's cycling. She's wearing the European Champions jersey, and she's starting to show some really good form early season.
It's been a fairly long and steady road back for her, hasn't it, really?
Absolutely. She was dominating a few years ago in women's cycling, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, where any race she went into, she could solely control the race. She was so strong in any situation, and had a few injuries and a little bit of time building to get back into things and just coming good again. Team Cervelo Bigla, they were the winners of this race last year. That's the lady of the moment in 2017 at Gent Wevelgem, Lotte Lepisto. This is now Chantal Black, the world champion.
Yeah, how's she finding it wearing the rainbow jersey so far? Because that brings a whole other lot of responsibility with it, doesn't it? It's not easy necessarily for her in a team of winners. There are so many of them that can and do want to win so many of these races in the Boels-Dolman squad.
Well, Chantal Black, they're sporting the World Championships jersey. She's been saying that she had a lot of advice from her teammates about how to enjoy the World Championship jersey rather than feeling the pressure of everyone watching you. Jolien Daughter, she is most certainly the most popular lady here at the start in Gent Wevelgem. She's wearing the national championship jersey from Belgium. She comes off a very high win in De Panne last weekend.
Yeah, she's going very well, isn't she, Jolien Daughter, at the moment? We saw her as well recently on the track as well. There was the start a little bit earlier on, over 2 hours ago. And at that point, lying ahead of the riders, over 140 kilometres of racing.
Well, you can see they're quite relaxed. They have 3 kilometres of neutral before the gun goes off.
And a quick look at the course here in Flanders Fields.
These are the little sections here that are very tough with the bergs. 1, 2, 3. There they go over.
The Bannenberg, the Kemmelberg followed very quickly by the Monteberg. Then they go over the Bannenberg again. That's the 4th one. The Kemmelberg and the Monteberg is the last one with 34 kilometres to go. The long, largely flat run into the finish here in Wevelgem.
And this is the reason, Simon, why I say it could be likely to come down to a sprint, because in former editions of this race it's been so windy that they've not been able to close down gaps. Last year there was a small select group of still with some sprinters in it.
This is the first time up the Kemmelberg. There were 82 kilometres to go at this point, a little bit further on. And as you can see, the vast majority of the field all together. The first couple of hours of racing, by the way, the average speed 39 kilometres an hour.
It's been a very, very fast race. So far today, they're ahead of the fastest schedule predicted. That's Marianne Vos heading down on the front in the European Champions jersey. Just a very relaxed peloton the first time over the Kemmelberg. And I think it's because this is the hardest climb in the race. They do it again shortly. We'll see on the live coverage. But very relaxed the first time over, and I think because the distance of the women's races are getting longer, they're just conserving a little bit more earlier in the race.
Now, Rochelle, what about these unmade roads? We've got a few of these little stretches. It's not quite Strade Bianche, is it? But it's a similar idea, and I think when you look at them strung out like that, and there's nothing either side, they will be very grateful of the fact that it's not a windy day here.
Absolutely, and I think the section is quite compact. I rode it yesterday, and it didn't feel too much different than riding on tarmac if you stay in those sections where the wheels of the car have ridden over. Very compact and very smooth, but the real, I think the real challenge of that section is that it's very, very open. Even if there's no wind, you still do feel wind. You want to get protected behind a wheel, but being a little bit of gravel and the possibility of bumping into a rock, they don't want to be too close to the wheel in front of them, and the roads are also extremely narrow, and this is the reason we see it so strung out across those sections.
Well, we have seen one rider crash and forced out of the race in the last 5 minutes or so. Urska Pintar of the Ljubljana team, she is out of the race, and I think it helped to cause big splits in the peloton. The last we heard, the peloton was split into 3 different groups. As you can see, unfortunately, we are waiting for live images. We did have some a little while ago, but there are some technical issues out there on the course at the moment, so we will bring you as much information as we can while we await the arrival of the live pictures here in this women's Gent Wevelgem race. There we can see the latest odds. Lotte Lepisto there, I think, is quite highly fancied to do well.
Well, we see some big names up there. There's Chantal Black, who's wearing the World Championships jersey. Jolien Daughter has to be one of the favourites too in the Belgium jersey. And then you have the likes of Kirsten Wild, fresh off winning 3 World Championships on the track. Chloe Hosking must be very, very frustrated after being on the podium in 2 World Tour races already this season, and always so close to the mark. So she'll be very hungry for victory here today.
Hopefully we will get these pictures soon, but in general the idea of providing dedicated coverage of races like this, I mean, it is progress, isn't it? Because certainly in years gone by the women's race just came and went and nobody really took a great deal of notice of it, which of course it's good that that has changed, and hopefully we will get these live pictures shortly and bring you the concluding 60-odd kilometres of this women's race. What have you made of the World Tour so far? I mentioned earlier, Rochelle, that this is the 5th race. We've had Strade Bianche, we've had the Ronde van Drenthe, the Trofeo Alfredo Binda, and the 3 days of De Panne as well. So Van der Breggen won the first one. She was the winner at Strade Bianche. Amy Peters triumphed in the Ronde van Drenthe. Kasia Nieuwedoma in the Alfredo Binda race, and then as you mentioned already, Jolien Daughter last time out. We've had a good spread of winners already so far in this World Tour.
I think what makes it really exciting is the way that the calendar is structured, that we had Strade Bianche, such a hard race, and then we had a flat race in Drenthe for the sprinters, back to Italy for a hard race in the hills again, and then De Panne, which was flat for the sprinters again. So we see what's different this year after 4 rounds already of the World Tour race is that we've had different winners, and the points difference in the World Tour Series is greater than we've seen in the past. So who is going to win the UCI Women's World Tour this year? It's very difficult to say at this point after 4 rounds with different winners. Kasia Nieuwedoma is going to be very, I think, motivated to win the series this year. She's not won it before. She's won races but not the actual series. Amy Peters is looking in fine form early season, but we'll play a domestique role later when we come into the Ardennes Classic. So I think we're going to see the top riders' names move around a little bit during the season. Kasia Nieuwedoma being the standout one for a good position for the series, but I think Marianne Vos is also going to be one to...
I'll tell you who we don't see up towards the top of the list at the moment is Annemiek van Vleuten, who we did see riding the individual pursuit final in the World Track Championships recently against Chloe Dygert. I don't think anyone would have beaten Chloe Dygert on that day the way that she was going. But of course she had such a fantastic year, didn't she, last year, Van Vleuten, when she was dominant in so many races, including La Course by the Tour de France, which was over more than the one day this time. I think that's still an event that is evolving in many ways. But yeah, Nieuwedoma leading the way. 350 points in the bag so far, the Canyon SRAM rider. Chloe Hosking in 2nd place, Chantal Black going well in 3rd, she's got 250 points, Dora 4th, Marianne Vos, and the rest of the top 10 so far in the Women's World Tour rankings: Anna van der Breggen, Amy Peters, Elisa Longo Borghini, Amanda Spratt and Alexis Ryan rounding out the top 10 at the moment.
Well, whilst we're waiting for the live pictures, 53 kilometres to go today in Gent Wevelgem. Still no breakaway, but it has been a very aggressive and a very fast race to this point. So we can assume there's some pretty tired legs in there, and the last time over the Camel and the Monteberg, which I think's actually, it's not harder by itself, but because it comes just after the Camel, it is quite difficult. I think that's where we could see a significant move of the day, but will the breakaway be able to stay away? There's a lot of teams who have some good sprinters here.
Such a special time of the year, isn't it, this, because you've had De Panne already earlier this week, you've got Gent Wevelgem today, and then in the next couple of weeks we go Tour of Flanders next weekend. A couple of weeks after that we've got the Amstel Gold Race, Flèche Wallonne back to back, and then Liège-Bastogne-Liège. It's quite a block. It's a fantastic time of year, isn't it? If you're into cycling, Belgium at this time of year is the place to be.
Absolutely, and I think there's so many different type of riders that are always at the top of Women's World Tour races. in the last couple of years. But given that there's certain riders that will target Depan against Wevelgem, or even Drenthe Depan against Wevelgem and Flanders, but then you'll have a separate group of riders targeting the Ardennes Classics. So you see within a team the roles change, and there's riders that'll be out there today working for a leader because they want that payback when it comes to the Ardennes Classics. So it's certainly a very exciting time of year. Also for a lot of the riders in the peloton from Australia and the UK, they'll be off to the Commonwealth Games to put that in the mix in the middle of this hectic program in Europe.
They can still do Flanders, can't they, before heading out there, though? Because they've got the thick end of a fortnight before the Commonwealth Games race. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the Australians will be able to handle flying into Australia a little bit later after Tour of Flanders for the Commonwealth Games, just given that they have more experience with that long-haul flight, having done it quite a bit.
Quick update for you from out on the course. Yes, it is frustrating that we can't bring you the live pictures. We will as soon as we possibly can. We're hearing that Team Sunweb have really taken control of things out there, and with about 50k to go, they are on the front of the peloton. So one presumes that Corinne Rivera might be feeling good today.
Absolutely. Given that Sunweb are pretty dominant at the front and driving the pace, they normally do play their cards, though. They have, as we said before, some really other strong options in Floortje Mackaij, who's won this race. But Ellen van Dijk, she's always, in a hard race, she's always one of my picks because it could even be a bluff. We haven't really seen Corinne Rivera on top form yet this season, so I think putting all of their, their eggs in one basket with Corinne Rivera might be a little bit risky today, given that there's other informed sprinters like Jolien Dorder, Chloe Hosking, Lotte Lepisto. So, with the Team Sunweb, they're at the front controlling, but they do have strength in numbers and they have some cards to play. So it could be a day for Ellen van Dijk, although she probably would come more into her strength if it was a bit more windy. You can see now the flags are blowing outside of our commentary box.
They've had a couple of placings, though, haven't they, these riders that you're just talking about this season? Ellen van Dijk, she's been a top 10 finisher in Strade Bianche and in the Ronde van Drenthe, 9th and 10th. And I noticed that Floortje Mackaij, who won this race in 2015, still just 22 years of age, she has got a race win already this year, the Onloop van der Westhoek, and she was second in Le Samin as well. So she's obviously going pretty well. She was 9th in Ronde van Drenthe, so quite right to point her out as somebody who is in decent form, or would appear to be in decent form going into this race this weekend. So plenty of strength in depth there, and more than one card to play for Team Sunweb.
Absolutely, a very, very strong team. There's a few teams here, I think Boels Dolmans, they're always lining up with a strong team, but even the teams that we don't mention so much, the Villa Bigla that won last year with Lotte Lepisto, they have some strong riders in there. Ashley Moolman's always one who can help control things for Lepisto. Mitchelton Scott, very strong team. Unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, they lost Amanda Spratt on the start line due to an illness. She had the flu after the Chicilio World Tour race.
But what a lineup they've got. Gracie Elvin's in there, Sarah Roy, Annemiek van Vleuten, Jessica Allen, all backing up Jolien Dorder today out there. And the Boels Dolmans lineup, one rider we haven't mentioned there, we've been talking about Chantal Blaak, obviously, as the world champion. Amelie Diederiksen as well, who won that world title in Qatar in 2016. She's been on the track as well recently.
She was also on the podium at the World Championships in Norway last year, so Amelia Diederiksen, she hasn't been so well early season. She's been struggling also just with a little bit of illness, so she may not be in top form here, but she's always certainly a strong teammate and will be there. But Amy Peters has been absolutely sensational early season. She's on top form. Christine Majuris as well, a fantastic race in Depana. She was in the breakaway with the likes of Gracie Elvin, pulling really strong turns to try and stay away, and she had a puncher from that break, was back in the peloton, and still managed at a World Tour race to sprint to a podium finish. So Majuris is extremely strong as well. The field is really full of strong riders. Canyon Schramm, also one we haven't spoke about so much, but Alexis Ryan, she'll want the support of the team today, I believe. She's in good form, but Hannah Barnes also could potentially win this bike race. She's won a big race this year as well. Lisa Klein, super strong. Hannah Barnes' younger sister, Alice Barnes, in there as well for Kenyon Tram, and Trixie Warwick brings a world of experience to this team in the race. So I think they'll also be a strong team to watch in the finish.
Well, clearly, apparently, there are still technical problems out on the course, unfortunately, which means that you're seeing rather more of that colourful band than no doubt you would like to see. The latest from out on the course, I think they're heading for the Bannerberg for the second time, which would mean they're roughly about 50 kilometres to go. 5 riders on the attack at the moment with a gap of 10 seconds, just trying to wait to see whether we can find out any names of those riders. We have no information to give you. Unfortunately, we do not have a race radio connection either at the moment, so we continue to wait for the live images of this race. What about the Wiggle High Five team? I'm sure you would know quite a bit about that. Who's lining up for them today? 1 or 2 late changes as well. Lucy Garner coming into the team fairly late in the day.
Yeah, Lucy Garner has really stepped it up this year. She's been training very hard over the winter. She had a good winter, came into Het Nieuwsblad in really good condition. Super impressed by the way she's applied herself this winter and taken that next step. We've been waiting for a while to see Lucy Garner deal with the long kilometres in the elite ranks after winning 2 Junior World Championships, and she certainly has made that jump this year. So she's in today's race. The other strong riders, obviously Kirsten Wild, coming off her 3 World Championships a couple of weeks ago on the track. She'll be fast. Lisa Brenner is in fantastic form as well. So there's also a few cards to play within the Wiggle High Five team today. Audrey Cordon's super strong. Elisa Longo Borghini, a former winner of Strade Bianchi and Tour of Flanders, in there as well. So they definitely have a strong team, and it's the first time they've come together, the new riders of Wiggle High Five, with Lisa Brenner and Kirsten Wild in the mix. So it'll be interesting to see how their communication is, how they come together as a team for the first time in 2018.
Now, do you want the good news or the bad news? The good news is I think we're going to see the Kemmelberg, the climb of the Kemmelberg shortly, because it's a fixed camera point, so we will be able to bring you a little bit of live action. The frustrating thing is, at the moment, we are still having a problem with the signal from the plane, I'm told. So, unfortunately, at the moment, that's as far as it will go. We will hang on for as long as we can and hope that they can get it sorted out. But hopefully, we will see a bit of live racing at least shortly. And we do thank you for your patience, and do realise how frustrating it is for all of us here, because we want to see this race. It's developing very, very quickly. It's been a fast race. It's a great day. We all know what a wonderful part of the world it is for bike racing, and we desperately hope that we can sort it out for you.
I'm sure a lot of people will be sitting on the couch all set up to watch this race today. It's been fantastic to see the last couple of years more women's races live, because everybody wants to see the action in the moment and what's happening.
When we can see them, it's great, yeah.
Everyone has very, very busy schedules, and I think a few people would have put their schedules of fitness, family events on hold today to be watching Gent Wevelgem. So we're doing our best. I think there's a lot of people running around like mad out here, trying to get this feed to you, so hopefully we'll have pictures soon. Obviously, we've all been very excited about this live coverage, so fingers crossed. And for now, we'll see what kind of action, we hope to see, but we'll hear what kind of action's going on the Bamberg.
Well, we hear that 6 riders have an advantage of 7 seconds, but we do not have the names of those riders at the moment. So still all to play for in the women's race here in Gent Wevelgem, this latest race in the World Tour. And unfortunately, at the moment, all we're watching is the finishing line itself for the men's race running as well today. The 80th anniversary of Gent Wevelgem. Hopefully we'll get some shots then of the Bannerberg. Actually, it's the Kemmelberg I think we're going to get maybe in a few minutes' time.
Well, at this moment, we have 6 riders broken away. We haven't got their names yet, but they've got a 7-second advantage. Not much, as I said. There's not a lot of wind out there. Really nice conditions for Gent Wevelgem. So 7 seconds advantage, not a lot for those 6 riders. But it has been a very aggressive and attacking race right from the start.
Bondsgenoten worden op elkaar draaien, allemaal ondernemen die door Oesma, maar die kregen niet de ruimte aan de jong te zien, voormalig winnaar in het veld. Die sprokkelde op haar eentje met de voorsprong en gaat naar de seconden. Oesma is trouwens van de jong maar op dat zat er prijs op. Een kilometer of 4 heeft een stand gehouden van die eerste druk zo gedaan. En de Wegwiet die shifting in het peloton dat lag van de bankopmerking in 3 stukken uit elkaar. De eerste groep dan op een half minuut door 2 en op een minuut of wat ging dan zijn op de cijfers samengekomen. En trekken we dus nu richting die
All the information that we have is that the race is heading towards the Kemmelberg and that they are all together out on the road.
Another team we haven't spoken about yet, Trek Drops. Directed by Bob Varney. It's known as probably the big small team of the women's peloton, the UK registered team. They are every single year lifting their professionalism and looking more like one of the big teams of the future in women's cycling, and they have 4 riders from the UK racing today, one from the Netherlands, and Taylor Wiles, which is a very interesting rider. Had some nice wins last year in UCI races, so a very big signing for the Trek Drops team.
Yeah, they've got a few changes in their squad, haven't they, this year?
Yeah, they
Drops.
have Lauren Rowney, the Australian, directing the team, so nice to see more female directors in women's cycling. And ex-professional cyclists making that step and having a new experience in the sport on the other side of the fence, dealing with the athletes they were not long ago.
And among those riders in the lineup, very promising 20-year-old from Great Britain, Abby May Parkinson, who was 11th in the Valencia Cycling Week recently, and an extremely talented rider and prospect for the future. And Abigail Van Twisk as well did well in the Santos women's race in Australia at the start of the year. She was 4th on one of the stages there.
It's fantastic to see the riders have an opportunity to be in a UCI team racing all around the world. Obviously, there used to be a strong women's British development team on the road with Simon Cope, and now we've not seen that team racing development team in Europe. It's great to see more and more British teams registered, giving riders opportunities to come over and race in Europe at the top level.
Well, whatever this problem is to do with the signal coming from the plane is clearly still with us, which means unfortunately we're looking at that rather than the race.
Well, the riders will be enjoying the nice weather after having 4 rounds of the Women's World Tour in the rain, freezing cold. We have heard rumours that there could be snow here actually on Wednesday for another race they have, Dwars-Vlaanderen, between Gent, Wevelgem and Flanders. And it looks like we may have some live helicopter pictures. No, we're watching a recording right now. Hopefully we can get some pictures. Apparently the problem is the transmission, rather than not having the helicopters up there. They're up there, so we're just trying to get that transmission live at the moment. But we see some pictures here earlier today.
Peloton strung out, but all together we've regularly seen little splinter groups going off the front, but never really gaining more than 5 or 10 seconds, and never able to stay away for any great length of time, always reeled back in.
Well, we've had some news that Canyon Tran's Sprinter Alexis Ryan has been dropped off the back of the peloton. No doubt she'll get back in with a little bit of support of her teammates if they can get her to the finish. She's quite fast. She's had a win at Gent State this year and quite a few podiums, so great form. And Kenyon Schramm, they do have other cards to play, but I think they'd love to come to the finish with Alexis Ryan. And the thing about this course is, knowing I have raced against Wevelgem in the past, and if you do get dropped in between those climbs, it's just so hard to get over the last climb and, close enough to the peloton. If you don't have the support of your team to get back, it can be very hard, and by the time you do get back, you've lost your legs for the sprint.
What's the biggest problem, because they're so close together?
Yeah, the climbs are close together. They're not particularly hard by themselves, but the fact that they come one after another, you can just lose a little bit too much time, and the convoy gets away from you, and it's very difficult to get back in, and the work required to get back in. And I think just mentally you think, oh, if I can't get over the climbs with the smaller part of the bunch, then it's going to be difficult for you to sprint. But now we have live pictures.
Hurrah!
Hurrah.
Hurrah, say all of us, and long may these live pictures remain with us here for what remains of this race. We're inside the last 50 kilometres, and as you can see here, Rochelle, a good many riders still at the front and in contention in this race, and we have our first crash as soon as we went to live pictures, and that to me looks as if it's Suzanne Anderson who's gone down.
Yeah, from the High-Tech Products team, the Norwegian team. She looks to be a little bit hurt and phased by that just over the gutter. You can see there.
Just look at the right-hand side there and the gutter there.
She tried to jump up onto the gutter to get a little bit more space and maybe improve her position, but didn't lift the bike quite high enough. Very fatigued legs after going over those climbs quite a few times.
That was a tired rider there, wasn't it, trying to do that? She was 7th in the World Championship last year in Bergen in the road race, but came a cropper there in the gutter. 40 kilometres to go. This is the front of the race here in the Women's World Tour Gent Wevelgem.
Well, we saw as soon as the live pictures came on that it was Marianne Vos and Amy Peters, two riders that will find this race not quite hard enough to bring out the best in them, but Marianne Vos has got a sprint. Amy Peters has got a very good sprint as well. Can they get to the finish without the really, really big sprinters like Jolien Daughter, Chloe Hosking, Kirsten Weir, Lotte Lepisto? If they can get to the finish, it's going to be very hard to beat those pure sprinters. But Marianne Vos, like we said, she's coming into form this season, and I think we're going to see the old Marianne Vos from a few years ago back this year.
So the next few minutes we should be seeing the last two hellings of the day, the Kemmelberg and the Monteberg. If there's 39k to go, if that is accurate, that's what we should be seeing. But there's still quite a whittling down process to come here.
Well, we said that there are great conditions today with that wind, but you can see that the peloton's very strung out, and it's hard work to come up to the front. Sunweb have been very, very aggressive today, and they've got their sprinter in second place there. That's Corinne Rivera, who would really like to win. Floortje Mackay there as well, Marianne Vos. There's
Lisa Klein as well, the champion of Germany, up towards the front.
Jolien Daughter up there, positioned very well. And you can see these riders are working very hard. That's Georgia Bronzini there, just struggling a little bit to hold the wheels and hide from the wind. Gracie Elvin still in there as well. But this is strange. Corinne Rivera, the sprinter of the Sunweb team, on the front there, just trying to hold the pace. It would indicate to me that they may be working for Floortje Mackay or someone else today. Corinne Rivera, as we said, hasn't been in top form yet this season, and to see her pulling turns on the front makes me think she may be giving herself and her strength to the team today. So you can see that these riders are really working hard.
Here we go. This is what we want to see with 38k to go.
Well, this is what they call the hardest climb of Gent Wevelgem, the Kemmelberg. And it's the rider from Cervelo Bigla on the front pushing the pace. Sunweb's up there, two riders from Boels Dolmans. And Marianne Vos looking very comfortable. There's a few riders there. So on the front it's Ashley Moolman and then Ellen Van Dyke, Amy Peters and Megan Garnier from bowls also up there, the American. Elisa Longo Borghini in the Italian champions jersey. Mariana Voss on the right of your screen, looking quite comfortable.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see Ashley Moolman pass you up there. That looks like Hannah Barnes as well from Canyon SRAM, not too far back as well.
Very well positioned for Hannah Barnes. That indicates she's on a good day today, because this is the final time over the camel. Audrey Cordon of Wiggle High Five in there as well, but Lisa Longo Borghini, look at the strength of these riders at the front there. It's Ellen Van Dyke, as we said, on any type of race, on any day. She's one of the strongest riders, and there's Gracie Elvin alongside Chantal Black.
And this is where you've really got to hang in there, and there you can see this is where the splits are starting to appear, and once they get over the Kemmelberg, very quickly they've got the Monteberg to come as well. So if you're not at the front when you go over the next climb, you're going to have a real problem, because the pace will be high for the final 34 kilometres or so.
Well, what's significant, what we're seeing here, just at the end of this first little group, you see the riders of Jolien Dorda and Kirsten Wild just hanging on, just trying to hang on to the back of this group. Then there's a gap until a bunch that has Chloe Hosking in it that's just been a little bit distant. So you can see, if these riders at the back of the peloton, Jolien Dorda we're looking at in the Belgium jersey, and just behind her Kirsten Wild, if they can get over this climb, and you see here the gap back to Chloe Hosking on the front of this little group.
Just starting to open up a bit. You see Kirsten Wild and Jolien Dorda not enjoying the Kemmelberg at all, just hanging on to the back of that front group.
And Lisa Brenner are in that back group, and Gracie Elvin, two riders that are very strong classic riders, not getting over in the front group. Will the front apply the pressure here? Because Megan Garnier, Ellen Van Dyke, Ashley Moolman, and we also saw the in-form Amy Peters there as well.
See Hannah Barnes towards the back of that leading group, and she's hanging in there at the front of the race.
This is a good sign for Hannah Barnes. There she is, well positioned in the peloton. Megan Garnier goes around with Ellen Van Dyke on the wheel.
No surprise to see her and Ashley Moolman at the front at this point.
No, and the riders like Mariana Voss and Elisa Longo Borghini in there as well. If this group stays away, they have distance a few really, really good sprinters, because it looks like Kirsten Wild and Jolien Dorda haven't made that front group. And this is the gap we're going to see now, the front group. Here comes the second group, and it's Gracie Elvin driving it down there to try and get Jolien Dorda back into that front group. And Georgia Bronzini there has been struggling a bit early season, but her sights will be set on the Giro. She always likes to win a stage of the Giro. We just saw Chloe Hosking. Surprising to see Lisa Brenner not make that front group. She had some really good form in Depana last weekend, but now we see this front group are going to apply some pressure on it, because there's another climb, the Monteberg, coming up very quickly, and that's the one that really hurts. It's not as hard as the Camelberg, but because it comes so fast after the Camelberg, the riders will want to keep the pace on now between these two climbs.
Yeah, tough ride out for you yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm still feeling it. Thanks for the reminder, Simon. Yeah, I was out there getting over these bergs and just trying to give a little bit of information to the Wiggle High Five team about how the conditions are out there.
This is the tough bit, isn't it, really? You've got to hang on to this front group here for the next few minutes over this final climb. If you can hang in there and go off the top of the final climb, you're in with a shout in terms of the race. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long chase, potentially.
Well, it looks like Sunweb's Fortune Mackay has just been dagged off the back there a little bit, so they've opened up a significant gap. But this group here that has the big sprinters in it, you can see it's Gracie Elvin of the Mitchelton Scott team trying to drive that group back. They've got Chantal Black in there, the world champion. Got enough of them in there with mutual interest to do that? Yeah, I think so. The big drive's going to be from Gracie Elvin from Mitchelton Scott, because Jolien Dorda is just in this group, and she's in there without the likes of Chloe Hosking and Kirsten Wild. So if this group can get back, they'll have to work really hard, I think, after the Monteberg, because if they just catch on to the front group before the Monteberg, they're surely going to get a little bit of distance on the Monteberg as well and have to work again. But there is 35 kilometres to the finish after the last climb. And you can see third in line there in that second group is the world champion, Chantal Black, up towards the front. They can't quite bridge that gap at the moment, but as you say, even if they do, the likelihood is that it will open up again on the Monteberg, which is only a kilometre or so away by my reckoning. Well, you can see here that Gracie Alvin has a lot of pressure on her shoulders. No one else wants to help out there. And here's the distance back to the other group with Kirsten Wild. And it's Lisa Brenner that moves straight to the front. So you have Mitchelton Scott chasing on the first chasing group for their sprinter, Jolien Daughter, and now you have Lisa Brenner chasing for Kirsten Wild of Wiggle High Five in this group.
Tell you what, if you're Jolien Daughter, you're in a great position if you've got somebody of the quality of Gracie Elvin working for you, haven't you? When you think about the results that she's had and the ability in the Classics, second in Tour of Flanders last year, for example, she's so strong in her own right.
Well, you can see the second group there with Jolien Daughter is just about to make contact as they hit the Monteberg. So it's going to be, this is the climb where you'll see the likes of Elisa Longo Borghini, Mariana Vos, and the climbers of the peloton really push it hard to try and, you know, hurt the sprinters a little bit more. But they will be a little bit disheartened by the fact that there's still a long way to go to the finish. Their objectives would be to drop the sprinters, but
yeah, Vos looks really strong today, doesn't she, up towards the front of the race? But this is not an ideal scenario for her, is it, in terms of the parcours of Gent Wevelgem, perhaps when you've got so many pure sprinters still in touch?
I think Mariana Vos would prefer to come to the finish without the likes of Jolien Daughter, who's just made contact there. However, she can sprint, and if she's feeling a little bit more fresh than, say, Jolien Daughter, she can have a really good sprint against the best in the world. But we're not 100% sure of how her sprinting legs are, but she certainly looks very comfortable and fit early season. So it's the team of Boels Dolmans. They have 3 riders in there. Megan Garnier, Amy Peters.
Chantal Black up to the front as well. They're on the right-hand side of the picture at the front. Is that Megan Guarnier on the left at the front there, just out of the saddle there, leading them up the climb?
It is. You can see these groups coming back together. If these 2 groups at the back come together, there'll be more support there to bring it all back together for a sprint at the finish. You'll see the teams here of LA Cipollini and Wiggle High Five driving the pace because they need to get their sprinters back in contention to win this race. But they're not climbers, the ones back in this group, and that's why the pace is significantly slower. They're going to have a big job to do once they get over the top on that flat run into the finish.
Yeah, those gaps aren't closing, are they, at the moment? This is the front of the race.
Well, Chantal Black driving the pace on the front there, probably for the likes of Amy Peters.
And there you can see, if you look probably about, you can see probably about 10 riders back in the white jersey with the blue band around it. That is Mariana Vos.
That she's wearing the European Champions jersey, the white and blue.
There she is, we're closing in on Mariana Vos.
161, she's looking very comfortable today. In front of her, the Spanish champion. And Hannah Barnes in this group. Very impressive ride from Hannah Barnes of Canyon Tram. That's Mariana Vos, the most accomplished female cyclist of all time.
Yeah, looking pretty comfortable as well in that leading group. It's less than 35 kilometres to go now.
Oh, Ashley Moorman making a move up to the front. Will she make her attack here? There's number 210 Hannah Barnes. And Jolien Daughter right next to Gracie Alvin, and Gracie Alvin giving great support to Jolien today, 100% working for her. We've also got Sarah Roy from Mitchelton Scott in this peloton supporting Jolien Daughter.
And 23 there at the bottom of your screen, just going off the picture is Gracie Elvin, and there riding on the front is Annemiek van Vleuten from Mitchelton Scott, and she's got Cecilie Ludwig right on her wheel. There we are with the world champion Chantal Black, and number 144 is Ellen van Dijk from Sunweb in the black and white. Moving up on the right hand side, Sheila Gutierrez with the Spanish flag on her jersey there, bottom right of your picture.
That was a fantastic rider. Gutierrez, she's the strongest Spanish rider at the moment in the women's peloton.
She's going pretty well at the moment as well. She was 7th this week in Depana, and was 6th in Le Samin as well early this season. So her form pretty good, and it's keeping her towards the front of this race at the moment. see the second group.
And as
Marjoris up towards the front of that group, and is that Lisa Brennauer as well? Lisa Brennauer there, second in line at the moment, and just going past her, Kirsten Wild.
well, Kirsten Wild must be feeling okay because she's on the front there.
Tatjana Gudetso on the back of that little group, former world champion, quite a few years ago now. But again, there's a real quality about this group in terms of the riders that are in it.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much support from Majuris in the chase because she has some strong teammates up there, and they've got some really good numbers in Bowles Dolmans in that front group, so she's going to
She'll be happy to just sit where she is now, won't she?
let Wiggle High Five do the chasing. Ale Cipollini still looking for Chloe Hosking. It might not be her day today. We've not had some... here she is now in the group just behind. So we see chase group number 2 and 3 now maybe coming together, which will then have 2 very big name sprinters. And they've still got the front of the race in sight, so it's very possible this is all going to come back together. If it's like last year, there was attack after attack going into the finish. It was a very exciting finish, and we might see that again today. Some riders just getting a feed there from the side of the road.
Conditions so changeable here this time of year, and the weather could hardly be better really for this particular edition of the race. Well, that's called Coming World Remember Me. It was built recently, actually, a reminder of the futility of the war. 600,000 statuettes for every victim of the First World War in Belgium. It's located near the Bluff, a mine crater from the First World War. And tens of thousands of people from Flanders and the rest of the world helped this come into being. They made the statuettes. And there's a dog tag for each statuette, the universal identification system for frontline soldiers. Megan Guarnier on the front. FDJ with a rider up there as well here.
A little lull of pace there in the front group. Everyone getting some nutrition and hydration in. Chantal Black, the world champion, on the front there. And it seems that, as we said, it's most likely to come down to a sprint today. And a lot of the teams might be sensing and feeling that, being a little bit conservative at this point, not too worried about trying to keep the other chasing riders off the back. Just having a chat and looking around who's there.
Ale Cipollini squad are well represented, aren't they, with Chloe Hosking and Marta Bastianelli among their lineup today.
Yeah, they have a strong team this year, and they're looking around now, the LA rider at the back there, just to see how far the next group with Chloe Hosking is behind. They may not know she's actually 2 groups behind, but it looks like it all will come back together because you can see the riders there. They're listening to their radios. Gracie Alvin's talking to Chantal Black. No doubt they're talking about which riders are in the front group, which riders are not, and how long is the gap behind. It looks like a lot of the teams are happy to wait for this to come back together.
Yeah, this certainly doesn't look like a leading group that's going flat out all the way to the finish, does it?
Well, as we said, a lot of these teams do have sprinters that they're hoping for today, so there'll be communication between the riders. And here we see Trek Drops now on the attack. So it's the British team of Bob Varney having a go. And
just trying to animate the racing and break things up a little bit. Mitchelton Scott getting involved as well, and Bowles Dolmans are never far away. They've always got representation whenever anything happens to animate the race.
Well, that could be Jessica Allen of Mitchelton Scott there. And Hannah Barnes made the move as well, so she's having a great ride today. A rider we haven't spoke about in the dark blue, that's Barbara Gurashi, a rider who has won stages of the Giro, a sprinter, so if she comes to the finish, she'll be one to watch as well. So maybe a few of the smaller teams here.
Move from Movistar on the right-hand side of the road.
These teams without big sprinters like Movistar And Trek drops are happy to have an attack and hope that something slips away.
I think we're going to see a lot of this, aren't we, now, with these constant little accelerations, people just looking if they can gain an advantage and get some early company and steal a march on everyone else. Not a lot of help coming at the moment.
They'll have to get a strong mix of teams that are happy to work together, but I don't think it's going to happen today. We can see the sense is that a lot of teams want it to come down to a bunch sprint, or let some of their more firepower that were in those chasing groups come back together before they start launching attacks.
Ashley Moolman there in the white in the middle of your picture up towards the front. She's still monitoring everything at this stage of proceedings.
So Lisa Brennauer made her way back. That may mean that she's come back with Kirsten Wield. She's in the group there.
Longa Borghini up there as well.
And you can see on the left it is the rider of Sunweb, Corin Rivera, chasing down those moves. This gives me a very strong indication that Sunweb are working for another rider. It could be Ellen van Dijk. Floortje Mackay didn't look super strong on the climbs, but she's got a handy little sprint. But Corin Rivera getting in the mix indicates to me that she's either got superb legs today or she's doing the job for someone else in the team.
Bolsdorman's doing the work on the front of the peloton at the moment here. That's Christine Margerus.
Well, Bolsdormans have numbers and they really want to make the race as hard as they can. They sense that wasn't the right moment, but that's Amy Peters. She's already won a World Tour race in her home country in Drenthe this year, so she's got very good form. Handy little sprint. Megan Garnier also of Bolsdormans up there, and Chantal Black of the team leading, so a bit of communication between the riders.
What are they really riding for today? Who are they riding for, would you say, today? Because it is, as ever, such a strong lineup.
Absolutely. I think that they're a team that, because they have so many riders that could potentially win the race, that they leave their options open until somebody within the team says, all right, I'm on today, I feel good. But at the moment, I think they're just trying to make the race as hard as they possibly can, because they can nearly always have someone in the break, and all of their riders have a handy sprint on them. So they probably feel it's more safe first to try and break it up and come to the finish with a smaller group. Discussion there between Jessica Allen and Sarah Roy of Mitchelton Scott, just getting some nutrition in.
Cicchini just behind them as well from Canyon Stram, just slightly obscured at the moment, up towards the front. Also saw Leah Kirschman as well, taking a swig from the bead-on a few moments ago into the last 30 kilometres of the Women's Gent Wevelgem, the 5th race of the Women's World Tour for 2018.
Well, I'm pretty sure, Simon, that Team Canyon Stram are going to ride for Hannah Barnes today, because she looks super fit. She climbed so well last year at the Women's OVO Energy Tour, and today she's done the same thing. She's put herself in the front group over the climbs, and she's very fast at the finish. So Hannah Barnes looking good today for Canyon Stram. And all the big sprinters seem to be back in that peloton. We've got Chloe Hosking.
So we shouldn't forget her sister Alice, who was 7th in Gent Wevelgem last year.
Well, certainly be a strong leader. Alice Barnes in there as well. So Canyon Stram have a very good chance here at the end. It's Wild Deals, that's the team of Mariana Voss, Danny King as well, who's already on a flight out to Australia for the Commonwealth Games, so she's not here today for Gent Wevelgem, but Wild Deals now a little bit of a gap, a very, very big task to ride to the finish by yourself with such a strong peloton behind.
Well, I can see a rider from LA Cipollini leading the chase, trying to close this attempted breakaway down almost before it started.
Well, Costa out there for Wild Deals, certainly a very strong rider.
Anouska Costa from the Netherlands.
He's the former Dutch champion. That's the stripes on her sleeves.
Yeah, won that title back in 2016. 6th, actually she won the Lotto Belgium Tour last year. Costa.
She'll be hoping to be joined by a rider, and there is one rider trying to get across now, but to ride all the way to the finish by herself could be quite difficult, so she'll be looking for some support of other teams who might be interested in a breakaway, but she'll be out there also just putting the pressure on the other teams to chase, because Marianne Vos will be looking for an opportunity to attack or move into a move or wear out the other teams that have to chase in order to have a good sprint here today.
Well, this race takes place in Flanders Fields. This is the Tyne Cot Cemetery, the largest Commonwealth cemetery on the mainland, and also the main witness to the bloody Battle of Passchendaele. Approximately 12,000 soldiers buried here. And on the Tyne Cot Memorial, there are 35,000 names of soldiers with no known grave.
Well, we have some shots there of the finish. It's a very long, straight road all the way into the finish. That'll suit likes the sprinters like Kirsten Wild, Jolien Daughter and Chloe Hosking, really powerful sprinters. And obviously, these days in women's cycling, more and more, it's the strength of the team that wins these bike races rather than the strength of the individuals.
It's going to be very hard for anybody to catch this peloton out and steal a march in the closing stages. I think it's quite clear the sort of finish that we're heading for in all likelihood here now. You can see those Ale Cipollini jerseys towards the right, and the yellow and orange, always so easy to spot. Bold Stolman's predominantly orange jerseys there with the black shorts, although Margerus in the red, white and blue as the champion of Luxembourg on the right hand side of your picture, racing for them as well. And Movistar, for the second time in the last few minutes, trying to send a rider up the road, and an immediate reaction, as you can see.
Well, it's the first year of existence for the Movistar team, and they certainly have been impressive in the way that they've raced. They haven't signed huge names yet, but for the first year it may be a very smart idea to just get a feel for the management of the team, of how everything runs, and some inside knowledge from one of the Australian riders, Rach Nayland, saying she's been super impressed with the organisation, how professional it is. So it's a very
it should be, shouldn't it? I mean, they are one of the bigger names in professional cycling, and it's about time they had a team. But I was expecting to see her here today, Rachel Nayland. She was on the initial start list, but not taking part in the race today. So she's missing from the Movistar lineup. FDJ sending a rider up the road here.
Well, it's a shame these riders are not going off in 2s or 3s to have a little bit of a chance to put a real good time gap between themselves and the peloton, because it's a huge ask for one rider to stay out there for 27 kilometres on such open roads, straight, non-technical.
I think that's Rosanne Slick of FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope to give the team its mouthful full name, which I think is not that easy to get out.
Yeah, it's a
very quickly.
New regulation in women's cycling is that you can have 3 major sponsors in the name of the team, which can be quite a mouthful for the commentators, but just allows the teams to have 3 major sponsors contributing finances to the team. So whilst it is a little bit difficult to have super long names in a team, it's really helpful.
The more sponsors, the merrier. That's the name of the game, isn't it, really? So yeah, I think it's something that we're more than happy to live with. I'll put it that way. Roxanne Slick, by the way, 26 years of age, Dutch rider on a French team. Her best result so far this year, 18th in the Alfredo Binda World Tour race.
Well, it was a name that we heard a lot of last year during the Classics, riding very strong. So she's a relatively new name coming into the top results of women's cycling, but certainly another strong ride during the early part of the season today. Just to be out there on your own, keeping a gap between yourself and a peloton so strong, I think says that she has a lot of qualities and strengths.
And what about the teams sort of standing within the Women's World Tour? Are they, would you say they're a sort of a fair to middling outfit?
They're becoming one of the bigger teams in women's cycling. They're signing more international riders than they have in the past. So we have a couple of Australians in
Lauren Kitchen.
Lauren Kitchen and also Shara Gillow, and they ride very, very, very strong together as a duo themselves. So to have those 2 riders in the team, I think FDJ every year is becoming more international than just being a French team, and they're a team that you do look out for and consider on the start list as being a potential threat, depending on a conversation that I've had with a few people lately has been about how important it is if you want to win a World Tour race as a team sponsors this year. In 2018, you need to put all of you strong riders in the same race to have an opportunity.
The Canadian Memorial of the Brooding Soldier commemorates the role of Canadian soldiers during the Second Battle of Ypres. 2,000 soldiers lost their lives in the first gas attack. And the monument there represents a Canadian soldier who salutes the dead with a traditional military salute.
25 kilometres to go, nothing technical to come along, no more dirt roads, no more bergs, straight running to the finish, very smooth roads, open, a little bit of wind, not a lot, but still enough to, if one team all got together and tried to put it on the side of the road, it could cause difficulties and splits within the peloton. However, we've said a number of times already on this broadcast that there is a number of teams who have a big sprinter in there and pinning their hopes on their sprinters for today.
So once they're through the town, we just need to get a full grip on exactly who is there, whether all of the main contenders who we perceive as the main contenders for this race from the start, who is there, and indeed whether, perhaps more to the point, whether anyone's missing who we might have expected to have been at the front of the group. Looking at the size of the group, I think everyone's there who we would expect to be there pretty much.
I've not actually seen a picture of Chloe Hosking in there yet. However, she does have a teammate, Marta Bastinelli, up in the front with Yannicka Ensing. So Marta Bastinelli is certainly a very fast sprinter capable of winning today's race. But we'll try to get a picture of Chloe Hosking and confirm that she's in that front group. One rider from FDJ, Slick, is away at the moment.
Bastinelli, fourth in Ron van Drenthe this season already, as they go past Flanders Fields Museum.
Well, you can see Rosanna Schlick has quite a bit of a gap there over the peloton. They won't be, the peloton won't be too much of in a panic about this. It's stringing out, so the pace is on. They want to keep everything under control.
History surrounds and is part of this race, as you can see, from start to finish. None more so, perhaps, than the symbolic Menin Gate, which I think really, in terms of this race, also signals that it's the start of the run-in towards the finish for the cyclists, really.
Well, if we run through the favourites again for today's race, we're just getting a picture here of how far Rosanna Slick has a gap on the peloton. That's her there. So she's got 21 seconds at 23 kilometres to go. So she'll just be riding it out, potentially trying to put pressure on the other teams to chase and set up one of her teammates. FDJ do quite often have pretty fast sprinters, certainly in Fournier and Lauren Kitchen, a very strong duo there. Lauren Kitchen had a heavy fall in one of the recent races, but no serious injuries, fortunately.
The gap at the Menin Gate between Slick and the peloton, 27 seconds, confirmation of that. It's down to 21 now.
And Bols Dolman's controlling, and you can see all the riders together there at the front.
Ashley Moolman-Passio still involved in there at the front, and that's Ellen van Dijk also there in the black and white of Sunweb.
I have a feeling that Ellen van Dijk's going to be one of the riders that goes for a bit of a breakaway towards the finish. She'll want to have a go, depending on the feeling of Corin Rivera, because she's one of the fastest sprinters in the world, the teammate of Ellen van Dijk. But as a duo, they're also very strong. So it'll be interesting to see, does Ellen van Dijk take a chance today and see if she can get a little bit of a break? She's one of the very few riders strong enough to do that close to the finish here today. But also, if she reserves her energy to do the lead out for her teammate Corin Rivera. They're very, very difficult to beat.
This is a significant spot, the John McCrae site, because this is where John McCrae wrote in May of 1915 that the world-famous poem In Flanders Fields. Along the Ypres canal, just outside of Ypres, the Essex Farm Cemetery. Here we are with our race leader, Rosanna Slick from FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope. And her lead holding fairly steady at 23 seconds. But when you've got a peloton like that behind you on roads like this, 22k to go, it's still a very, very big ask, to put it mildly. But Slick riding strongly here in the closing stages of this Gent-Wevelgem race.
Well, obviously with the live coverage of women's cycling getting more and more common for the Women's World Tour races, it's important for teams like FDJ, for the sponsorship of the teams to get out there in the front, but also for the rider themselves to put themselves on show. Being a domestique can mean a many things, but being out there putting pressure on the other teams to chase. For Fournier and Kitchen, she's also getting herself the exposure to other teams and for her sponsors to give them a little bit of return on investment. So out there knows that it's going to be a very hard task to stay away, but there is a purpose to be there and many benefits of it for her teammates and for her team and the team's partners. So you can see there that the peloton can see her, they have her in sight, they're just trying to control things to make sure the gap doesn't get too big. But you can see 14 seconds, they're fully in control there, but there are a few splits in the back of the peloton.
You can see well that second group there just behind, whether that's a group coming back on. It looks like the race is, a lot of the race appears to be coming back together here, Rochelle. Well,
you can see that Boels Dolmans and the team of Sunweb are really applying the pressure here at the front. Got one rider in Waldeals up there and Wiggle High Five just swapping off, but they are applying the pressure here.
Yeah, the rider from Waldeals, I think that's Anuska Costa still up towards the front in the green of the Waldeals pro cycling team. That's the team of Marianne Vos this year. Beautiful spring afternoon. So different to, I think it was about 3 years ago I was here covering the men's race, and the wind was blowing so strongly that Gert Stegmans was actually blown into one of the canals off the side of the road. Now, for those of you who follow it, he's a big guy and he takes a bit of blowing off a bike, but he was blown into one of the dikes that day.
Well, look at this. This is the big teams here applying some pressure, and Jolien Daughter just down the back there trying to keep contact, and it is certainly doing a lot of damage. Our leader out in front just being caught.
Well, that gap closed very, very quickly there. But you could see, as we were watching the chasing group, you were saying as yourself, Rochelle, that they were really starting to put the hammer down now. And that's Megan Garnier riding on the front at the moment for Boels Dolmans. Rivera also very, very prominent here.
We saw her just taking it quite relaxing over the climbs, but she's certainly up there digging deep now to make this race very, very hard. And Ellen van Dijk and Rivera, I've got to say, this is one of the first times that I've seen Rivera really contribute to making a race hard. She's a very good sprinter, and a different tactic from herself and the Sunweb team.
You would expect her to be keeping her powder dry, wouldn't you? Tucked in there near Jolien Daughter, no?
Well, we just saw Floortje Mackay go out of the shot there. She could be the protected rider for the Sunweb team today. We've seen Chloe Hosking is in there, so is the sprinter of Jolien Daughter. And Team Virtue there have Barbara Guashi.
There's Vos towards the back of the group there, but it must be Floortje Mackay, mustn't it? Because Rivera surely wouldn't be doing turns at the front of the peloton at this stage of proceedings.
Well, it certainly looks like she's not setting herself up for a sprint. Floortje Mackay is in there. No other teammates from Sunweb around her, though, protecting her. It's a interesting tactic from Sunweb, but Ellen van Dijk may be setting herself up for a late attack.
There's the second group, and just about 10 seconds between the two, and with 19k to go, it could be an even larger group at the front of the race, potentially. Well, no wonder they were just putting the pressure on to try and stay away, trying to keep it narrowed down.
Well, interesting, Gutierrez, the Spanish rider, is back in that group, as is the sprinter of Kirsten Wild. I'm not sure this group will come back, because the leaders will want to keep this away, because there's a couple of sprinters that they've managed to drop on these roads. So this could be the winner could come from this main peloton here at the front, the first group, as Marianne Vos makes her way up to the front of the peloton. Trying to spot Lotte Lepisto to see if she's in this front group.
Well, that was the rider who was at the front on her own, Rosanna Slick, but is now towards the back of that leading group, as you can see. 43 there, Annelies Dom from Lotte Soudal. Lisa Brenner as well in that group, number 172, we just saw her. 155 is Kasia Pawłowska, and there is Jolien Dora.
Well, one of the favourites, possibly the clear favourite for today, coming off a World Tour victory last weekend. Dapana, she's having to work hard here to move herself up to the front, but I think she's going to be very hard to beat if it comes down to a sprint today.
Leah Kirchmann just going past, and there in the middle of the picture on the far side momentarily was Marianne Vos. And then Lisa Brenner, a 172 in the black of Wiggle High Five. .155 there, Pawłowska from the Virtue cycling team.
Well, I think Jolien Dora is looking quite comfortable and confident here, and she's got the support of Gracie Elvin, you see on your screen there. The stronger teams who have more numbers, they're the ones that are applying the pressure here. It's both Dolmans and Sunweb doing all the damage, and here comes the Mitchelton Scott team up near the front.
Yeah, they look as if they're going to start to get involved as well. They're ones in the dark outfits with the light shoulders. Leah Kirchmann there on the front in the black and white of Sunweb has got a little bit of company now, and the company is provided in the form of Jessica Allen, who goes to the front for Mitchelton Scott. And the kilometres are clicking by here.
Well, with only 17 kilometres to go, like we said, we don't think this front group's going to sit up too often or for too long, because they've managed to put some distance back to the sprinters, and there won't be too many teams back there chasing and committing to a chase to bring this back together. So with 16 kilometres to go, we could see the winner come from this group. You can just see it may be Lisa Brenner there just dropping off the back of the peloton. She may be, looks like she's doing that strategically to go back and assist with bringing Kirsten Wild back into the peloton. But when the other teams get this news on the radio, that just means they're not likely to let up any of this pace.
So it's Sunweb, Mitchelton Scott, Bowles Dolmans, and also Wow Deals, Voss's team. They're getting involved as well. She's obviously going well today.
The Virtue rider of Baba Guashi looks quite comfortable in the peloton as well. Jolien Dora trying to stay protected. But Wow Deals, they're happy to apply some pressure whilst they've got Marianne Vos in the group. And Lucinda Brand, Sunweb just rolling over the front there. And Amy Peters, the winner of the Drenthe World Tour race. So this is a very strong peloton, but they have, looks like it could be where we're looking for those two sprinters, Chloe Hosking and Lotte Lepisto. They may not be in this front group.
Well, it's a relentless intensity now at the front of this race. Well, they're absolutely determined that this is the group that will contest the finish here.
Well, we see Chloe Hosking there to the right of your screen, just down the back. So she's one of the fastest sprinters in there, along with the Belgium champion, Jolien Dora. Can never count out Marianne Vos. There's Floortje Mackay. There is Corinne Rivera. Chantal Black herself is very, very fast. Amy Peters. Plenty of very fast sprinters in this group. Barbara Guashi in the navy blue of Virtue.
It's been a couple of years, 2 or 3 years in fact really, since Barbara Guashi has been really hitting the headlines with major results. But she's up in this front group here now. So we'll keep an eye out for her in the navy kit, the predominantly navy kit of the Virtue Cycling. 15 kilometres to go. And still Bowles Dolmans and Sunweb dictating affairs at the front. The green jerseys of Wow Deals are up there as well.
I'll be keen to keep this pressure on because it's Kirsten Wild and Lotte Lepisto that haven't made this group. And Canyon Tram may not have Hannah Barnes in this group. We're just having a look for her, but they may have missed the break as well. That split in the peloton.
So you think definitely no Lepisto here?
No, I don't think. There's Canyon Tram's Hannah Barnes, so she is in there. Down towards the back. They're all fighting to get protection on the side of the road.
Well, this battle's really on there. Chantal Black, the world champion, and just going past her, Alison Jackson, the Canadian from Team Tibco, Silicon Valley Bank. Here now, riding on the front, is Jean Corova from the Netherlands, just dropping back a little bit now, as they all just do little bit and bit here on the front of the peloton. And once more coming through with Jessica Allen momentarily on the front from Mitchelton Scott.
We've certainly seen a lift in the quality of women's cycling racing, and the strength of the teams are very well spread out among all of the teams. So that's why we see a race like today. A number of teams could still win this. We've got Mitchelton Scott, we've got the Virtue riders just rolling through now. Bowles Dolmans, Wild Deals, a team of Danny King and Mariana Voss.
Yeah, I mean, Tahura, one of the big favourites today, Rochelle, and for Mitchelton Scott. But as you can clearly see, there are plenty of other teams who fancy their chances of beating her out there on the road.
Oh, LA Cipollini up there with Chloe Hosking. And they've got Marta Bastinelli as well, so a very strong duo there. Hannah Barnes just swings to the left of the road.
Yeah, she's about 3/4 of the way back in that group on the left-hand side, just moving her way forward a little bit.
And as we said, Wiggle High Five were in this group, but they dropped back to try and assist Kirsten Wild to get back into this group.
Hannah Barnes looks like the only Canyon Tram rider in this leading group from what we can see here. I don't think she's got anybody with her at all.
She looks quite isolated there, but I think we're going to see, given that Elisa Longo Borghini and Lisa Brenoir of Wiggle High Five have dropped out of that group, to try and help the second group come back and put Kirsten Wild into a winning position. So whilst these teams are driving it as hard as they possibly can, they don't want the really big sprinters that are missed out to come back. But within this group, you have got a number of very fast sprinters.
Is Emily Diedrichsen in this group? I've not seen her. I know Amy Peters is, and Christine Margerus, and Jip van den Bos from Bowles Dolmans. Chantal Black, me. Is she there as well? If she is, she's been hiding well.
The strength of the Bowles Dolmans team is that all of these riders that they have can sprint and could potentially win this race. So very fast riders in Bowles Dolmans, and they're happy to keep the pressure on.
We'll keep an eye out for number 13, Emily Diedrichsen. If she's not there, I think all of her teammates are. Put it that way. Now, you will have been in this sort of situation so many times in your career, Rochelle. If you're one of the fancied sprinters here, what's going through your mind at this point? At
this very point, it's just pure concentration on not leaving a gap between yourself and the rider in front, because that little gap can cost you the race. It's just so difficult. But it's not strong crosswinds, but you can see the flags there. They are blowing, and it is causing a bit of havoc. But for a sprinter, it only takes 5 to 10 seconds of having to push the wind at a very, very high pace to lose contact with the group, and then the race can be over. So right now I think for the sprinters it's pure concentration on staying out of the wind, position well and stay focused now coming into the finish.
And important not to get ahead of yourself in terms of the final few kilometres as well. And also that running as well, because it's such a straight road, it's tantalising. It looks tantalisingly close.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to have patience as well, I presume.
Yeah, with the straight running like this, we saw last year a few of the sprinters hit out a little bit too early, so there will be a lot of patience from the sprinters and relying on their teammates as well not to go too early because, like you said, they can anticipate the finish being closer than it actually is. So it's very important for the sprinters to stay relaxed and have seen the finish and know exactly where they need to kick. And I think one of the other interesting things is I've heard from a couple of the riders is that they take the radio out coming into the finish because the directors can be revving them up on the radio, say, come on, we can do this, and that's when you can get a little bit overexcited and make a move too early. So you can see that's the second group. Now the distance to the front group looks to me a little bit of too much of a distance to bring it back now with the pace that's going on in the first group. I'm pretty confident the winner will come from this group if they keep this pace going.
You see Marianne Vos moving up on the left-hand side, probably about half a dozen riders back now.
And Corin Rivera, there's a rider from Sunweb just making a move on the left side of the road, just picking up the pace there with Majuris from Bowles on the wheels. So Sunweb, it could be Corin Rivera. It looks like a small rider. Would be another very interesting move if it is, but Sunweb and Majuris just gone off the front.
Rivera and Leah Kirschman is the other rider from Sunweb who's been very prominent the longer the race has gone on. Wow deals with a rider there in third place.
Well, it's not Corin Rivera, but it does indicate to me that it's setting things up for Ellen van Dijk to make a late attack into the finish. So it's number 140.
It's Kirschman. It's Leah Kirschman who's up there as well with Majuris.
142. And Sunweb again. This looks like the tactic of Sunweb. They've wanted to make the race hard, and I think we're going to see them attack one after the other into the finish. Lucinda Brand goes off the front for Sunweb. It's a Cervelo Bigler rider chasing her down, and Team Virtue also trying to make that move. So I think we're going to see a quite attacking race into the finish here.
Well, it's good that we're seeing some animation here in this race at this late stage, and let's hope that these pictures have only momentarily disappeared. That would be immensely frustrating, and that's a relief. We're back at the front of the race, but it does look as if that little acceleration is going to be brought back.
Well, Mitchelton Scott doing well there to have riders placed near the front. They're riding for Jolien Daughter today, and they've got a slight cross tailwind coming into the finish, which will be in their advantage of staying away and not letting the other group behind make contact. But now we see LA Cipollini just moving up as well. They've got their sprinter Chloe Hosking in there, and another attack from Sunweb. This time it could be Corin Rivera, followed by a Bowles rider, but I think Sunweb are just going to attack one after the other.
Well, no one's going to be allowed to settle and just make preparations for the sprint. There's going to be a disjointed look to the end of this race because there are a good number of riders in this front group who are determined not to give an armchair ride to the sprinters into the finish and to make life as difficult as possible and to maybe draw the sting from some of those riders as well.
Well, Jolien Daughter to me certainly looks very comfortable in that group, and also Chloe Hosking. Now comes another attack from Sunweb. It's one rider after another, and if that was indeed Corin Rivera, the last attack, it looks like she might be finished for the day.
Yeah, that's Rivera, I think, on the left-hand side of the road.
She gave that move everything. Is she going to make it back onto the back? I don't think so. It was an all-or-nothing move to set things up for Ellen van Dijk.
Well, these moves haven't really had any effect so far, but as you can see, attack after attack here in the closing kilometres. Less than 7k to go now. And it's is that one of the women from the Lotto Soudal team at the front?
It could be, closely followed by Gracie Elvin. Sunweb not punching through that time, but it could be Bowles. They're going to keep these attacks going. Yes, Bowles on the attack again with LA Cipollini.
Marianne Vos just sitting at the back of that leading group now. Bowles, Dolmans and LA Cipollini leading the way. just can't quite get in close enough at the moment to see the individuals, to see who's on the attack here in the closing stages. World champion coming up on the right-hand side, about 6th in line at the moment now, Chantal Black.
Well, an interesting tactic today from Sunweb. They had a sprinter in there just 10 kilometres from the finish. They didn't protect today. It's attack after attack. Now goes Floortje Mackaij, and I think they're just waiting for Ellen van Dijk to soften up the grip a little bit, and Ellen van Dijk will look for her moment to go. Or she may even just play the card of a sprinter today, because Ellen van Dijk herself is very fast at the finish.
We're inside the last 5 kilometres of the race. You may have seen them just go underneath that banner a few seconds ago. So closing in rapidly on Wevelgem. And it's still very much up for grabs here.
Oh, Sunweb again. Here goes another big attack. All the way into the finish, we're going to see them now. They haven't protected a sprinter, so they're going to be just one after another until they have no riders left. But as we said, Ellen van Dijk will be dangerous at the finish. She did a great lead out last year for Corinne Rivera, who finished on the podium. But the Virtue riders still in there of Barbara Gouache, a very good chance for today.
Marjoris in second place there.
And Chantal Black takes a move with Ellen van Dijk on the wheel. This is the move that may be able to stick if Ellen van Dijk goes over the top. It is the world champion of Chantal Black, swings over, takes the roundabout with Ellen van Dijk on the wheel, and Mitchelton Scott. That would have been where I would have thought Ellen van Dijk would have carried on, but she's just taking a look around here.
Is that Chloe Hosking there, the second of the Ale Cipollini riders? Just following a teammate? No? Or is she further back?
I think
it might be.
She might be up there, yeah.
It might be, because she normally wears a black helmet. So it may be Chloe Hosking up towards the front of the races. And Marjoris attacks from Boels Dolmans. That looks like Christine Marjoris. Again, just stringing them out here.
Well, 3.7 kilometres to go. Marjoris followed by a rider of Mitchelton Scott. Sunweb close it in with Floortje Mackaij, who goes on the attack now with Ale Cipollini on the wheel. It's the teammate of Chloe Hosking. Chloe Hosking in 5th place there, closely followed by Jolien Dora. A couple of years ago they rode on the same team together. Now we see them shadowing each other for the sprint. Floortje Mackaij swings over on the left to Chantal Black.
Yeah, Black's having a go, and one of the riders from Mitchelton Scott is very quickly onto her wheel. Sunweb going to find it hard to respond immediately. They're doing their best. Is that Van Dijk in 3rd? Ellen van Dijk there in 3rd place, maybe, trying to close that gap, and looks as if she has. It's definitely a rider from Sunweb, and Ale Cipollini up towards the front. I'm wondering whether that is Chloe Hosking there, who is in... Yeah, it is. It's Chloe Hosking who's 4th. And now an attack from Boels Dolmans on the left-hand side of the road. This could be Amy Peters.
Well, Boels Dolmans have certainly benefited from the work done of Sunweb, because they've now got strength in numbers left, and Sunweb need to close this down.
And then the 3rd rider, I wonder if that's Hannah Barnes. It might be Hannah Barnes. I'm sure it is Hannah Barnes from Canyon SRAM is 3rd now.
Well, she sensed this moment was the one, because it's certainly doing some damage, and she's comfortable there, Hannah Barnes. As I said, she's looked good today. She's been in the right place at the right time.
And she can just freelance, can't she now, and just ride on surf on everybody else's coattails. She just only has to look after herself here. Hannah Barnes then right on the front of the race at the moment. And Ashley Mullman-Passio still up there, I think, from Cervelo. And there's another attack from one of the Sunweb riders.
Well, I'm not sure that's actually going to be permitted on the footpaths. There has been quite a big ban about this due to the danger of pedestrians being on those paths. Ellen van Dijk makes a move. It would have been clarified in the managers' meeting if they were able to use these bike lanes here, and I think it would have been very clear it's not a risk that you take this close to the finish. 2.2 kilometres to go. Ellen van Dijk followed by Boels Dolmans, and Chloe Hosking there just looking comfortable, taking a look around, and she's just
She's not getting the sort of gap that she would need, is she, at the moment, Ellen van Dijk, and former winner of the Tour of Flanders, going for the win here today, but she hasn't managed to steal a march on everybody else, because Boels Dolmans and Ale Cipollini have managed to close the gap. Mitchelton Scott up there. Jolien Dora's in a great position here, Rochelle. She's third in line, 2 teammates up with her, just in front of her here. This is set up brilliantly for Jolien Dora.
Absolutely, 1.7 kilometres to go, and the teams that haven't been doing the attacking but had numbers in there are going to benefit coming into the sprint. But Jolien Dora looks very comfortable. Chloe Hosking in there looking comfortable as well for the sprinters of this race. Hannah Barnes now just trying to make her way up on the wheel of Marianne Vos.
Vos now moving up towards the front on the right-hand side of the peloton. She's just in there behind Chloe Hosking.
And Ale Cipollini move up to give a hand to Chloe Hosking because she's in the wind at the moment. And Jolien Dora and Chloe Hosking never far away from each other. Boels Dolmans goes with Chantal Black on the wheel.
Amelie Diedrichsen, I think, is third. I think that's Diedrichsen in behind the world champion. It looks to me like a number 13, and if it is, it's Amelie Diedrichsen. And when you think of her teammates that are there would be no reason why she wouldn't be there herself. 1 kilometre to go then in the women's Gent-Wevelgem race for 2018, and the winner will come from this group here. What a sprint we're going to see.
Well, Hosking having to do some work in the wind herself within the final kilometres. She wouldn't like that, but Chantal Black is hitting out now with Chloe Hosking followed behind. The virtue rider of Baba Gurashi in there as well. We've spoken about Jolien Dora just a few riders back. She knows she can't go too early this year, but last year she actually got blocked into the barricade, so she'll also be conscious of that. She won't want to get blocked in. Here we go, Chantal Black on the front. Chloe Hosking hits out very early. It's going to be too early in a sprint like this.
Yeah, Chloe Hosking has hit the front very, very early, taking all the wind, and Jolien Dora's in quite a good position here.
Chloe Hosking doing the job for Marta Bastianelli today, so this is a lead out for Bastianelli, but Jolien Dora in a fantastic position.
Lisa Klein, the German national champion's in there as well. On the right-hand side of your picture in the white is Marianne Vos. The sprint is very much on here at the end of this race. Vos isn't going to get there to the front, first of all, because Jolien Dora is there, neck and neck up towards the line. Jolien Dora's not going to take the win, and as they cross the line, it looks as if it was the rider from Ale Cipollini. Bastianelli, Marta Bastianelli and Chloe Hosking have done such a great amount of work for her, and Marta Bastianelli takes the win here at Gent-Wevelgem. She timed her sprint to perfection. It looked good for Jolien Dora all the way into the finish there. She got some clean air, she got to the front of the race, but she couldn't stay there, and Bastianelli takes the win for Ale Cipollini, I think.
Oh, it was certainly an Ale Cipollini rider, but Chloe Hosking did a fantastic job, and that is the quality of the Australian rider. She did it so many years, so many races for Jolien Dora, and this year she's been lacking just a little bit. There it is, yes. Marta Bastianelli, Simon, you've called that one with the leader of Chloe Hosking, and you can see the celebrations there. Ken Edelman, one of the teammates, that did a great job.
Well, what a great ride by them, and Bastianelli's form was good coming into this, fourth in the Ron van Drenthe recently, and well, she's gone 3 better than that today. Marta Bastianelli, former world champion a long, long time ago now, back in 2007, but my goodness me, she showed there that she's still got that top-end speed, and Chloe Hosking doing a great job for her there, as you say. Roxanne Knateman there, celebrating that team success for Ale Cipollini. Disappointment on the day ultimately for Jolien Dora and for the Mitchelton Scott outfit, who put her in the best position possible. It was a good ride by the team, but you can't win them all.
No, I think for a frustrating finish again for Jolien Dora. It's a very, very hard finish to judge. All the big teams have done so much. This is the sprint from the second bunch coming in today. Kirsten Wield there didn't make the front group. Teammates dropped back for her, but a strong finish, but unfortunately lacking a little bit of punch over the climbs after a season on the track. And it rolls in also the Sunweb rider of Corin Rivera. But there it is, Marta Bastianelli. She had a fantastic lead out from Chloe Hosking here. Jolien Dora a little bit in the wind.
There's Marianne Vos on the left-hand side. Lisa Klein trying to get on her wheel, and Ellen van Dijk not quite having the speed at the end there. But there's Dora on the left-hand side. Bastianelli through the centre, number 72. And Amelie Diedrichsen on the right there for Boels Dolmans, as the line rapidly approached. And the clear winner, Marta Bastianelli.
And Lisa Klein there for Kenyon Schramm in third place. But Jolien Daughter, just not enough length in that sprint. She had to go when she went, but as she sat down in the saddle, as did Marta Bastianelli, it was a sprint to the line in the saddle. And there they sit down, and that's when Marta Bastianelli, just a few pedal strokes, powered a tyre in front of Jolien Daughter. And that just goes to show that they've hit out a little bit too early again, finishing both riders in the saddle with tired legs. And a great ride from Lisa Klein as well.
So just waiting for official confirmation of the result. It certainly looked as if Lisa Klein was in second place there, maybe Jolien Daughter finishing in third. No doubt about the winner, Marta Bastianelli. 30 years of age now, 11th in Strade Bianche earlier this season, 4th in Ron van Drenthe. And she also won a stage in that Valencia week race. There we are, Marta Bastianelli winning. Jolien Daughter taking second for the second year running. She was beaten to the line. That's where she was a year ago. Lisa Klein on the podium. Arlenis Sierra from Astana third. Amy Peters in fifth place. And Hannah Barnes from Great Britain sixth. Ashley Moolman-Passio, good ride from her. She was prominent throughout. Audrey Cordon Rago finishing in eighth. Barbara Garashi, who we saw her as well, giving herself an opportunity to go for the victory at the end, finishing in the top 10, with Letizia Paternoster from Astana rounding out that top 10.
A fantastic victory for LA Cipollini at this World Tour race.
So what it does mean is that, again, we have a fifth different winner from the opening 5 races of the Women's World Tour. Anna van der Breggen, Amy Peters, Kasia Niewiadoma, Jolien Daughter, and now Marta Bastianelli.
I also have a feeling, Simon, we might see another new winner of the World Tour Series next weekend at the Tour of Flanders. Most of these riders also will line up on Wednesday for Dwars Vlaanderen. And then the big classic race of Tour of Flanders. Jolien Daughter, frustrated again, second last year, second this year, but so close both times.
Well, she's had a good week overall, winning the 3 days of Tapana and then coming so close here, but just didn't quite have it in that final 150 metres. She certainly was in a decent position.
She has to be very pleased with her win in Tapana. She has a World Tour victory this early in the season, and I'm sure she'll have some more before the end of the season. Here's Mr. Bastianelli from LA Cipollini.
Lo sprint, la volata?
Sì, oggi è stata una giornata veramente fantastica per noi e abbiamo fatto tutto nel migliore dei modi. Ho avuto una squadra di eccezione negli ultimi chilometri, ci sono stati molti attacchi ma siamo state capaci di gestire, e poi ho avuto una grande Chloe Hoskins che mi ha aiutato negli ultimi 500 metri. È stata per me molto fondamentale, sono partita ai 300 metri e ho sperato fino all'ultimo di poter vincere questa volata.
E che significa questa vittoria per te?
Per me ad oggi significa molto, significa un grande lavoro fatto tutto l'inverno, sono anche una mamma, quindi per me è molto più difficile gestire, diciamo, un po' la mia vita sportiva, però sono soddisfatta nonostante a 30 anni, come qualcuno magari mi definisce un po' vecchia, invece mi sento ancora giovane e volenterosa di far bene.
Mille grazie ancora, in bocca al lupo.
Grazie a voi, grazie.
Voilà Ruben, jij mag vertalen.
So Rochelle, her thoughts after that?
A very interesting and heartfelt, emotional interview from Marta Bastianelli. Obviously, she contributes that victory to the support of her team, and especially Chloe Hoskins said it was fundamental in the victory here in the World Tour race. Having that lead out from Chloe Hoskins with, she said she had the help from Chloe from 500 metres out. And she said this winter she's really had to work extremely hard, but it's been a different winter for her being a mother. She's had a child in between winning her world title some years ago, gone away from the sport. As a climber, must I say, a pure climber back then. She's had a baby now, come back as a sprinter, a pure sprinter, and very delighted with the victory. And she said that, you know, it was a very difficult juggle being a mother and having to get the training and the long kilometres in over the winter, but at the end of the day, she said the victory really goes to Chloe Hosking for that lead out.
It certainly was a great lead out, and as you can see there, Bastianelli taking it by a wheel here in the sunshine in Wevelgem. Adding her name to a winners list that was started in 2012 by Lizzie Armitstead, as was, and then Kirsten Beeld, Lauren Hall, Floortje Mackay, Chantal Black, and last year's winner Lotte Lepisto, unable to put herself in a position to be able to sprint for the victory this time. So the Belgian crowd not able to celebrate a home victory, but it was a close run thing, and another very strong ride from Jolien D'Hoore.
She's certainly extremely fit. Obviously, she had a disappointing World Championship. She's watching again. This is going to be very difficult for Jolien to watch because she was in front, actually, until the last 30 metres, just when they dropped into the saddle. She had to turn her head away. Couldn't really watch that, how it played out in the finish, but certainly a long sprint.
See, that was a bit too painful for her to watch, wasn't it, at the end there?
She had to turn her head away. I'm sure that she's going to, the winner that she is, she's going to lose a few nights sleep over that. She has to be positive with the support she had from the team and the conditioning that she has, and one World Tour victory under her.
Here's Jolien D'Hoore.
Jolien D'Hoore, opnieuw tweede, dat is flink vervelend, hè?
Ja, inderdaad. Omdat ik vond dat ik toch wel een goede wedstrijd had gereden. Ik zat constant mee vooraan, ook naar de heuvelzone. Terwijl er heel veel sprinters gelost waren. Dus ik wou echt iets van een sprint maken. En ik zat goed, dacht ik. En ik wou de sprint aangaan en ik ga op mijn 12. En dan wou ik schakelen, maar die ging gewoon niet over, die ketting. En ik sprintte wel, maar ik kon gewoon niet rapper. En dan ik denk 10 meter voor de finish, ging die op de 11. Maar dan was het kalf al verdronken.
Dan voel je Bastianelli komen natuurlijk.
Ja, normaal kan ik zo nog versnellen in mijn sprint. Maar nu bleef ik gewoon hangen. En echt wel jammer. En,
dat is vloeken, hè, zoiets. Op dat moment.
Ja, zeker. Omdat ik wel voelde dat er zeker in zat. Mijn benen waren zeker even goed als donderdag in de pannen. En dan is het jammer dat ik zo moest sprinten. Maar goed, squish.
Jolien D'Hoore, second for the second year in a row. Can you describe your sprint?
Yeah, it was a hectic finish also because the road is very wide and we had a headwind coming into the finish. And I was good positioned and then I wanted to go start my sprint. And I sprinted on my 12 and then I couldn't go faster and then just before the finish my chain jumped over but I was too late. But also Marta Bastianelli did an amazing race and she was really strong and congrats to her.
Thank you very much, Jolien D'Hoore.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, Rochelle, I was quite relieved there when we got a little word from her in English, although I think you don't need to speak her native tongue to know that she gave it what she could, but she was left a little disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. As her face said it all in that interview. She is certainly very tired and fatigued, but
there's a bit of consolation for her. She's the new leader, provisional leader of the UCI Women's World Tour overall rankings for this year on 380 points. Marta Bastianelli, who's been very consistent with her finishes so far, not just about the win today, but she's placed in other races already this season. And Kasia Nieuwedoma, who's not here today, who was the leader, now down into third place. And Chloe Hosking as well in fifth, gaining some points for her finish, despite the fact that she was providing the lead out, and a very impressive one as well. Here's the last kilometre again with the world champion Chantal Black on the front at that time. And as you can see, just looking back, Jolien D'Hoore was in a very strong position. Ali Cipollini with Chloe Hosking there at the front. Now she starts to open up, make her effort. Bastianelli stuck to her wheel like a limpet there. Astana with a couple of riders up towards the front too, ready to compete for the finish. Amy Peters up there from Boels Dolmans. A little bit of looking around there from Ellen van Dijk. She just knew that she didn't have the legs at the end. Marianne Vos going around on the outside, the right-hand side of your picture, but she hit the wind fairly early and didn't have that top-end speed to compete with the likes of D'Hoore. Jolien D'Hoore must have thought there, with about 75 to go, that she was in pole position to win the race, but Bastianelli just had the strength in her sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Jolien D'Hoore did push the win for a little bit longer than Bastianelli, was protected very well behind Chloe Hosking. Jolien sitting a little bit to the side when she started her sprint in the wind. But I think Marta Bastianelli and the drag race to the finish, you'd have to ask if Jolien didn't sit down trying to look for an 11. She said that she was in the 12 wasn't enough. She wanted to be in the 11, but she had sat down and lost her momentum. But she has it at this point. But Bastianelli didn't give up and just picked in the last 20-30 metres.
I tell you who we haven't spoken about, Eleni Sierra, the Cuban rider there in the middle, number 81 from Astana. Another very impressive ride from her today.
Absolutely. She had quite a few strong rides last year. We don't see her having as many opportunities, but to be there in this field of riders says that she's certainly done her work over the winter and very fit. Some good results last year, and she has a very high ranking in the UCI calendar. She's always thereabouts, and I think we're going to see a big win from Sierra later in the season.
And Paternoster as well, her teammate, was up there at the end alongside her, having given her the best lead out that she possibly could. Here's the sprint again. Bastianelli, quite easy to spot in that almost luminous jersey of Ale Cipollini. Jolien D'Hoore in the Belgian national champions jersey. Lisa Klein, a very strong finish from her, which has got her onto the podium. The German national champion right up there at the end. As Hosking and Bastianelli joined by Roxanne Knetemann immediately after the finish.
It was fantastic to see Bastianelli get the big win. She's been the winner of a few smaller races in the last couple of years, but to see her on top in a Women's World Tour race, and I think the strength of Jolien D'Hoore, Chloe Hosking, Jolien D'Hoore and Bastianelli in the finish there, they were really, I think, leaps and bounds ahead of the other riders, because the other riders were a bit more protected, and they hit out very early, very long sprint. And there's the director, Fortunato, very happy. They've worked extremely well together. They say there's a great atmosphere in the team.
Well, here's a real behind-the-scenes look as they make their way. It's very glamorous, isn't it, up against the barriers there, making their way round towards the back of the podium. But we will have that victory ceremony for you from this Women's Gent Wevelgem World Tour race very shortly. That's where she's heading, with Lisa Klein and also Jolien D'Hoore already there.
Well, we mentioned before it should be a little bit of a consolation for Jolien D'Hoore to have the World Tour jersey, but I'd say that it's a victory. It's a very, very prestigious jersey to hold at any time throughout the season, even if it is for only 1 or 2 weeks. It might inspire her to have a good result in Tour of Flanders as well. It's a race that she's always really wanted to win, but she does have some teammates in Mitchelton Scott that want the favour paid back in Tour of Flanders. So it'll be interesting to see now, with the form and condition that Jolien has, how she's going to race Tour of Flanders in the World Tour Leaders jersey.
And some of these riders we've been watching today will be over in Australia in a couple of weeks' time in the Commonwealth Games road race.
So just trying on for sizing to make sure out there on the podium the jersey will be the right size.
So Lisa Klein now, who finished third today, the first to be introduced to the crowd. Lisa Klein, just 21 years of age.
And a huge future ahead of this girl. She's been really up there in the last couple of years, and now on the podium, first podium at a World Tour race.
Jolien D'Hoore, big local favourite, racing for an Australian team these days. Here's your winner, Marta Bastianelli. A very familiar name to women's professional cycling for a long time now. Bastianelli, world champion in 2007, but in very good form this year, still just 30 years of age.
En er staat little champagne op het podium, dus ik zou willen vragen aan Lisa Klein, aan Jolien D'Hoore en aan de winnares Marcia Bastianelli om de linnenchampagne ter hand te nemen, om de flessen te ontkurken en om er een fantastische champagnebubbel aangelegenheid van te maken met het...
Wisely remember to shake the champagne rather than the beer. And the celebrations begin after a hard and keenly fought competitive race that went all the way to the line. Marta Bastianelli, the winner of Gent-Wevelgem 2018. And Jolien Dora from Belgium, the new leader of the Women's World Tour after 5 races.
Marta Bastianelli. We hebben, dames en heren, nog uiteraard het World Tour klassement. Deze wedstrijd.
So the celebration starting for Marta Bastianelli on the other podium places today. We're just going to wait and see the jersey presentation to Jolien Dora. What do you make of that race today, Rochelle?
I think it was a fantastic race. We're seeing that the distances of women's racing are getting fractionally longer. A couple of years ago it was around 90 to 120 kilometres for what was a World Cup races 4 or 5 years ago, and now we're seeing more consistently distances around 140 or 150 kilometres.
Looks more competitive at the top end as well of the women's peloton than in the past.
I think the teams have really got good strength in numbers, and as it becomes more professional, the training of the riders is obviously they're getting the teams are getting stronger.
So we have a new leader then of the Women's World Tour, and we've got so many great races coming up, of course, with the classics, the classic season which we're well and truly into now. Tour of Flanders just a week away. And there is the new overall leader, Jolien Dora. She won the 3 days of Depana earlier in the week, second here in Wevelgem for the 2nd year in a row. But she does have the considerable consolation of the overall lead in the Women's World Tour. So we hope you've enjoyed our coverage of Gent-Wevelgem today in the sunshine. I'm glad we were able to bring you the last 45 kilometres or so, and we had an excellent finish, we had an exciting finish, and we had a good winner as well, and a worthy winner in Marta Bastianelli.
Now we have the young riders jersey of the Women's World Tour being presented by Morgan Coutier, the Women's UCI Commission leader, and this jersey will go to Astana. There will be plenty of celebrations.
Sofia Bertizzolo is the best young rider in the World Tour. She has our jersey, and I think that concludes our presentations here in Wevelgem. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. From me, Simon Brotherton, and from Rochelle Gilmore, thank you for staying with us. Glad we were able to bring you the racing in the end. But from the both of us for now, thank you for listening and for watching, and goodbye.